So in our society in general, we've become so efficient that we've become less effective. And instead of when people ask us something, we become professional question answers instead of askers. And we're forgetting that perspective of curiosity, like you said, and understanding why people are asking or saying what they're saying. And I would say if I were to meet with someone who's looking to do some self-evaluation of their own life, I would say to them, what's the most important conversation that's not working at a high level?
All right, welcome everybody. I have a great friend with me today that I asked to come on to the podcast, and Andrea has actually been working with myself and our real estate team in helping us in our communication. And I met Andrea through the Tom Ferry Network, and someone who had actually worked with her and had great success. And we were trying to work on our conversion and how to communicate better. And she's helped us even with finding some inside sales agents and been absolutely a blast to work with. And I'll tell you this too, the agents in our team, if I could say one thing that they would say, what's one of the best things that we offer as a team to the agents in our team, it's been Andrea and her program and what she does and the training she offers. And so thank you, Andrea, for joining us all the way from the East Coast.
Outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, affectionately known as Delco, Pennsylvania. Yes,
Delco.
Delaware County.
I meant to wear my Delco shirt. She gave me a Delco shirt, which is one of my favorite shirts. I don't even really know. I've never been there, but I do love I love the people I've met from there. So that's good. So Andrea, tell us a little bit about, we'll get into what you do now. But what got you into this role that you're in now, where you're helping people learn how to communicate better, which then helps not just in sales and, conversions and lead generation and all that, but actually just in life in general?
Sure. I realized at a very young age that I have a very sharp tongue and that words can really empower people or disempower them. And when you're careless with your words and you have lazy language, it can really impact people's lives. So I got into real estate just short of a decade ago, and I was recruited to be a recruiter for a brokerage in South Jersey. And after interviewing 4,000 agents and knowing one thing that they weren't the best at, which was lead generation, when COVID hit, I decided to lead generate myself and set appointments for sales professionals. And then when people saw that I was doing it at a high level, they asked me to help train other people. And as I grew along the way, I'm really a student at heart. I just kept reading more materials and trying different things on the phone, experimenting and seeing what was working. And that led to the Phone Fairy, which was the original name, to becoming Rookie to Rainmaker. So I feel as though even though I've been lead generating for over 35,000 hours in my life, which is probably 25 years, I feel like you can always learn more. And even new people teach me things. So I just really have a love for language because I'm sensitive to words personally. And I realize that when I come in like a bull in a china shop, I can really help people or hurt them. So that's why I'm super passionate about words and how they can influence.
So what you're saying is think before you speak.
Yes, words matter. Words definitely matter, especially if people are not as extroverted as yourself and myself.
So tell us, like, what does that look like? Like, what does it look like to, besides stopping and thinking about what you're saying? Because one of the things I think I've realized, it's not just stopping and thinking, because a lot of times for me, it's like, just relationally, I don't want to offend anybody. And sometimes I can be too, blunt or brash or whatever. But the thing I've learned from you is it's also the way that you say it, not just, you may have the same meaning or intention or whatever. And obviously I think the biggest thing, if it was one thing I've learned from you, is coming to every conversation from curiosity. But what would you say is like, where's the starting point for someone to do that? Because most people don't have that much self-retrospective to go. They're like, I'm fine, I talk fine, everybody seems to like me. How valuable has it been, and where do you start as someone who's interested in
Sure.
going, all right, maybe I'm not talking the right way?
So in our society in general, we've become so efficient that we've become less effective. And instead of when people ask us something, we become professional question answers instead of askers. And we're forgetting that perspective of curiosity, like you said, and understanding why people are asking or saying what they're saying. And I would say if I were to meet with someone who's looking to do some self evaluation of their own life, I would say to them, what's the most important conversation that's not working at a high level? That could be a question with maybe one of their teenagers who's rebellious. That could be with their spouse. That could be with a leader at work. That could be with a coworker. Because I'm sure you've been in relationships where there might be an icky feeling or someone says something and it rubs you the wrong way and you're like, well, I don't like that person, instead of understanding why you don't like what they said or how it affected you. I think it all starts with the internal dialogue that if someone rubs you the wrong way, why is it rubbing you the wrong way? And instead of getting mad or seeing red or just spouting something out and writing people off, understanding where they arrived at in their life before that conversation to make them say what they said. So the self-analyzation is what's the most important conversation in your life that if you focused on it, things would be better. And that could be personally or professionally.
I like it. Could you give us some examples of how having better, effective communication has led to better relationships? People you work with, you don't have to say names or anything, and even I don't want to say the word increased conversion because, like, if you're talking about your spouse or something, your goal is not to convert necessarily.
You
Um,
already converted.
yes, but are there any examples you have in mind that might be something we're sharing that's like really, really you've seen a drastic difference in?
Yes, of course. So oftentimes it's easier to see things when it's not your own life and you're not your own drama. So when people are on a tear, like, I can't believe this, what about that? And you take someone back and say, well, why did they say that? What's important about that? So I think when you're looking at conversion, you're really looking at how am I getting in a better relationship with people? So if you're looking at personally, it's deepening the relationship. And once you have a deeper relationship, you're going to have more trust. And people would think twice if you ask them a favor or to do something. So, for example, if I said to you, Ryan, you are sitting in jail and you need someone to pick you up because you got a little crazy after a football or baseball or basketball game, and you're not going to call your wife. We know that'll be a natural call. Who is someone who you would call and 100% without question would show up and bail you out?
Let me tell you the person, or
Yeah.
it's my buddy Steve Wood.
Okay. Now, why would we go to Steve?
Because Steve cares about me.
And you've been friends with him for
Quite a long time.
and you've been through a lot of stuff together and you have a pretty strong relationship, right?
Yes, correct.
Right. So that go-to person, you've taken the time to build a really good relationship.
Right.
So when you're thinking, if we apply it to business and conversion, it could be recruiting someone to come work within our organization and making sure they're a good fit, but making it about them. Whether that is looking at a database and making phone calls and people decide to meet with us because we're not that pushy salesperson. Whether it's having your spouse open to different conversations about different things or different vacations, really just asking questions to understand their perspective to get deeper into relationship. So that's how I see. Yes, it's increasing conversion in business, but it's really and it's really getting into deeper relationship. That's what it's all about. We can't get into relationship with people unless we understand their perspective and why they're saying the things they say or why they think the way they think.
So what you're saying is your style and what you teach, you train is more about building that relationship than it is about just the conversion, which is, we wouldn't be in business if we weren't trying to convert, but it's about building the relationship.
Well, conversion's much easier if you have the relationship.
Right.
Just like Steve would pick you up in the middle of the night. He would pick you up. He doesn't know me. If I called him, he doesn't know me. He might not pick me up. He don't pick you up.
Right. So what's, because there's also like if you look at some of the old sales training, especially in real estate, it was very almost aggressive and pushy. And this is very different than that. I mean, naturally it feels better because, you're building a relationship with someone, whatever, and you're not being pushy salesy. Most people don't like that, but that is a method to convert sales. What has been proven in a sense, I mean, I guess, I haven't looked, I haven't pulled numbers, but I know that was like a big style of training. What would, for a business owner who's like, I just want the most effective way to actually convert. I don't care if I have to be pushy or if I have to build a relationship. Would you say this is better at converting than the other way?
Yes. And the reason I say that is I'm in the business of creating raving fans and attracting people, not chasing people. It's either, and this is what something that Phil said, is it's easier to breathe life into people than to raise the dead. So this is probably the third or fourth business I've built, and I've built it through providing value, making it about the other person, truly helping them. Because if you help enough people, the world will help you as well. So I would rather build a business based off of referrals, serving and helping than chasing. Because if you create raving fans, people will naturally refer you because you made it about them and you made it about the relationship.
And one of the things I was looking at your, just kind of all the things that you've done, which by the way, one of the most impressive things I think was like the Tony Robbins. Like I've never been to a Tony Robbins event, but I love his teaching on mindset and all that stuff. But you want a ticket for the business mastery?
It's on YouTube. And I live about 25 minutes from the QVC studios. And I said, I'm going to get a ticket to Business Master. It's very expensive, 10 grand. And I said, I'm going to figure it out. I'll figure out a way to do it. So I was in the studio audience in 2012, I believe. I got laid off from corporate America, and I roll into the studio audience and they said, will you be a testimonial? This is the first time. I said, oh, of course, of course. And what I said to Tony is, when I walked in and I got laid off, I put my corporate card, my ID, and my laptop on the desk, and I wasn't scared or nervous because I took control of the situation. I showed up early. Like I prepared myself to be laid off, and I was okay with it. So since after that live taping, they called me and said, hey, since you got laid off in September, it's now December, how has your life changed since that event? Can you share with us? And my life had dramatically changed because I had opened a gym, and and I had said in December, before they asked me to be on QVC, I'm going to find a way to get a ticket to Business Mastery. And I was so excited, and I have a video of this. I was so excited talking to him on QVC, and he could feel the excitement. And he said to me, well, since you just started your business, I would love for you to be my guest at Business Mastery. And call my assistant after the show. I was so excited. I'm like a little kid on Christmas. And then I call his assistant to set up the ticket. And she said, are you sure? He never gives that away. I was like, oh, I haven't recorded. So I think he just saw my energy about being excited about the business and my clients. That's why he gave it to me. That was pretty exciting. It was a great event.
That's awesome. All right. So do this. Could you give us some strategies? I know you can't do everything in this deal because I've heard a lot of them. What are some specific strategies that someone today could take and help build that relationship, whether it's their client, customer, relationship, spouse, whatever they might be in, and implement it today? Just something, and you've got a million of them, but what's something you could share with us on that?
So let's start with the business. So if I'm a business owner and I'm producing, I would go to someone who's a repeat client. And I say, hey, Ryan, you've used us multiple times. You've come here for cheesesteaks, whatever you're coming here for. And I would love
cheesesteaks.
I would love to know like 3 things that you love about being a client of ours and like one thing you wish we could do a little bit better. So I would actually go to my past clients and serve them at an even higher level and then ask them for a referral. Who else do you know, Ryan, that could really use a Philadelphia cheesesteak? I'm not going to do it like that, but I would actually go back to my current client base. A current client base converts at 40%. They already know you, love you, and trust you because you've taken the time. So I would go to them, serve them at the highest level, and ask them for a referral. Because oftentimes, like, oh, they know us, they'll use us, they'll refer us. And when we've already spent the time there. We don't need to go back to them. And I think the statistic with Sales Lion is less than 37% of people ask for referrals, yet 91% of your clients would give them if we just asked.
So the strategy is go back to them and is there in the special communication? I know you said, who do you know? I know that's a magic
Mm-hmm.
word. Is there any, I mean, were there any, like, I understand that the action you want, but are there any magical communication, not magical, but you know what I mean? Communication words that of how you would frame that.
I would frame it, who do you know who is whatever I'm looking to serve? So say, for example, if you're a real estate professional, who do you know who's looking for more space, who their house is too big, they're swimming square footage, they can't take care of their home any longer, who's looking to build wealth through investing in real estate, but they're scared to take the first step. So I'm going to clearly describe it. I'm not going to use general terms. I'm going to be super specific about it.
Yeah.
And I'm going, because people make decisions twice, they make it in their head and then they make it verbally. So I'm getting them to visualize that person. So I'm being very specific about that.
And I
Versus
noticed,
who knows who's looking to buy, sell, or invest. It's very, very specific. Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, I know we're trained in the real estate world. Everybody's is, what was Brian Buffini's? His was, oh, by the way, who do you know that might be looking to buy or sell? But the way you say it's so different. It's like, and I think one thing you said to me one time before was like, who do you know that's in the same stage? Like, all right, so someone who I helped move from another state to Houston, and you're like, who do you know that also might be looking, not who do you know looking to buy or sell, who do you know that might also be looking to move from wherever they were coming from to here? And that feels so much more relational than just, I think people in sales are just like, hey, if you like me, you're going to just tell everybody about me. And that isn't necessarily always true. You said something else too, and I thought that was really good. You said, you told that person with the cheesesteak or whatever. Do you eat a lot of cheesesteaks being from Philly, by the way?
I'm trying not to.
Man,
No.
I couldn't tell you last time I had a cheesesteak. Yeah.
Well,
Is there a franchise that is nationwide that does have good cheesesteaks?
how do I not know that answer? Oh my goodness. I do not know that answer. I'm embarrassed. I don't know that answer.
I mean, I know you know one locally. By the way, if I did come up there, what's the best one in Philly?
Well, there's Pat's and Gino's, but I like Jim's. I'm a big fan of Jim's. And then there's a place in maybe a sketchy part of New Jersey that we could go to that's really good ones as well. I like Jim's though.
But you don't know a nationwide one. I could go in Houston and find one.
No, and I've never not had an answer to a question. So that's a great question, Ryan. I'm going to have to get back to you on that one.
All right. So you said, give me two things you like.
Three things that you like and one thing we could improve upon.
So why did you frame it that way?
Because I want to know what my glaring
I know the end result is we all want to know how we can get better. Most people want to know the criticism, but I think we're scared people aren't giving it to us. But you said,
why three things? Because people are going to give you the thing off the top of their head in the first two, and the real answer is going to be the third one when they're thinking out loud to you, like how you and I do. We think out loud,
right?
So the third thing is going to be what's really meaningful to them.
Got it. So you gave us that for business. Now, other relationships. Are there any other techniques or strategies that you've?
I want to give you. I don't mean to interrupt. I want to give you one more thing for business owners. This is how CrossFit started. CrossFit, you've heard of it, right?
Yes.
So in the initial,
which, by the way, you did a lot with them, right?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Tell us. Well, you had a gym.
So I started out as a figure competitor and I became a national level figure competitor. Then I found out about CrossFit, did that for 6 months and found a gentleman by the name of Mark Repito, who actually lives in Texas, and became a power lifter for a number of years, state ranked, by the way. Wow. And then I walked into a gym in DC when I used to work for Reebok, and I was like, oh, there's all these athletes here. Granted, I wasn't in CrossFit for 5 years, so I didn't know how the sport had grown. I was like, oh, can I train with your team? They're like, that's our competition team. I was like, oh. Then when the girls got pregnant, yay! And I was able to compete for a spot. So since I was ridiculously strong and I have a pretty competitive spirit, I spent the next 3 months competing for a spot on a regional team. And I learned how to walk on my hands in 10 days. I got a muscle up in 2 weeks, if you know what that is. So it was a really cool experience.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. The one thing I wanted to mention about CrossFit with Greg Glassman, he says, make rock stars out of your clients. So every business I've built, and you've probably seen me doing this with your team on Instagram, I talk about how great other people are.
Right.
And that's what builds my businesses, because if I'm sharing with their people in their world how great they are, other people feel good about that and they want to share it because it's about them. And I am proud of them. I don't do it to get business. I do it because I really am proud of people and I like seeing their wins. So if you can make rock stars out of your clients instead of making yourself the rock star, you're going to get far
That's great.
greater business.
That is a great tidbit. All right. So give us some relational tips.
So say your teenager's coming to you.
Yep.
And they ask you some questions. Instead of telling them what you want them to do, you could say, you know, I'm sure you haven't gotten around to cleaning your room yet, versus you didn't clean your room yet. Or could it be possible you can get your room cleaned before Friday? We're having guests coming over this weekend. It's the idea of coming from curiosity versus just answering questions. My husband and I personally have been working on Could It Be Possible? It's one that we're sticking on right now because we're very stubborn, both of us. And oftentimes we butt heads because he thinks things should be a certain way, and so do I. And in a new marriage, that's something instead of like, he'll say to me, well, what about this? And instead he's listens to my words most of the time, and he listens. If he's working from home, he can hear me. He has stolen Could It Be Possible, and now it's a fun game.
So could it be possible? So you're, I'm trying to think how, I don't use that one that often.
So what's something that someone in your house might nag you about?
Oh my goodness.
What do you get nagged about?
My son, nagged about or things that frustrate me?
Things that frustrate you.
Okay. So my son, it's the dumbest thing, but like brushing his teeth, he can never remember to brush his teeth. And I feel like I'm yelling at him just to brush his teeth. I'm like, dude, your teeth are going to fall out. Just brush your teeth. And the old school model of parenting was like, you just did what your parents told you to do. There wasn't questions. There wasn't like, why, Dad, do I have to do this? Like, it's just, you do it because I'm your dad. But as a kid, you always wanted to know, why do you want me to do this?
So his name's Jackson, right?
Jax, Jax.
Jax, help me understand why brushing your teeth is not a priority.
Yeah, I don't know what he would say to that. He'd probably say,
because you've never asked it.
I don't like brushing my teeth, Dad.
What do you not like about brushing your teeth?
I don't know I have no idea why he doesn't.
Would it be helpful if we got bubblegum toothpaste?
Once he gets a girlfriend and he's 11, he'll understand the importance of it. But right now,
could it be possible we could make a game out of it? This is a lesson I don't want him to learn with whatever small jobs you give him.
Right.
This is a lesson my dad taught me. I was supposed to change over my insurance at the age of 25. And I was just turning 25. I was driving someone else's vehicle who didn't have insurance unbeknownst to me, and I got in a car accident. And my dad said, your insurance was supposed to be changed by now. You get to pay that out of pocket. And he wouldn't put it through his insurance. So I don't want to teach your son that lesson saying, if you get cavities, you're going to have to pay for it. I would say, what do you understand about the cost of cavities when you go to the dentist? And tell him how much that costs and that he's going to own the responsibility of that, but you have to do it through questions.
So it's just framing your everything in a question.
Everything's a question. Everything that you want to say, make it a question.
So when do you actually get to tell someone your opinion? If all you're doing is asking questions. If you're like me, and you just want to tell, when do you actually get to share your opinion?
It's a great question. This is probably the hardest and easiest part. Once you've filled in all the blanks and you can say, based on the fact that you said X, I recommend Y. That's when you can tell them the why or what you want to say. If you can literally say in the conversation, based on the facts that you said X, X, and X, I think this would be a good next step. And this is something that I really like that Phil Jones talks about is oftentimes when we leave a conversation, we want to be right versus getting the right outcome. And we can leave a conversation and be right, but not getting the right outcome is really not fun for the person who's not winning, especially if it's in business. So you want to position yourself in a conversation that it's Ryan and Jax against the toothbrush and dental hygiene and cavities.
Right. So
you want to position yourself next to them, and you'll get far greater in relationships in life when you position it that way.
What do you think the biggest mistakes that, I know you work with like real estate agents, but people in sales and whatnot are making right now with the way they're communicating, the way they're handling things, and as far as the communication's going?
They're not curious enough. They are not self-aware of them pushing their own agenda, and they're definitely not curious. And I'm guilty of it too. But the thing is, if you've been doing something and you're a top producing agent, that curiosity that you had when you were a new agent that made you successful, that, helped you build relationships, that curiosity might be a little dead inside, and we have to bring that back because there could be another spouse, another family member who might have title on the house that we didn't ask the question. We didn't know that. So sometimes as we become ingrained in our routine, we forget to ask some of the most obvious curious questions. So I would say going back to probably your presentation, and are there enough questions in it? Say your listing presentation, your buyer's consult.
Why do you think the reason we don't ask enough questions are?
Because we want to speed up the outcome.
Yeah.
And we need to spend more time in discovery. We just want to do the next thing, do the next thing, do the next thing.
So then my question is, how do you, so if you're a business owner and you're trying to scale and you're trying to grow, which most of them are, and this is really slowing down the process, because I actually got to think about, when you build relationships with people, it's going to take more time than it will be by, speeding through it, like you said. How do you do it at a higher level and be able to grow when you basically just slowed yourself down?
Well, once you slow yourself down, you have better relationships. I have a feeling you can go on less appointments and have a higher conversion and get more referrals if you do it right. Because I would rather I think we saw this with some of your numbers, is there was appointments being set but not held.
Right.
And how can we set more appointments, make sure we meet them, and then get them signed? So I'd rather you go on 5 appointments and win 4 than go on 10 appointments and win 2.
Right.
So it's not really slowing it down. Well, it could be slowing it down. And if you slow it down and you do it right, you're going to get more incoming referrals. Think about Amazon. Amazon is asking you, they're following you online, asking you what you're looking at. They don't just bypass you. Hey, would you like this in addition with that? No problem. We'll return that. They make it easy for you to do business with them. So think about some of the elite brands out there. They take their time with you.
Right.
Whatever, W Hotel, whatever, whenever. So do you want to be a W Hotel or do you want to be a Budget Inn? It's a choice.
Right. No, I like that. That makes sense. I just know that there's a lot of people I know there's a lot of salespeople out there that are trying to grow. They want to grow quick, and to tell them, hey, you need to slow it down and ask a lot of questions sounds like, man, it's going to take a lot of time to do that. And so that's what I'm trying to get. But you're basically, what I hear you saying is, it's the more quality conversations is actually going to take you less time because you're going to convert at a much higher level.
Yes. And do you want a sustainable business, or do you want a relationship business or a transactional business? Because if you create a transactional business, you're going to keep chasing the lead crack. If you're doing a relationship business, more business is coming in, you're doing less chasing.
Yeah. All right. What are, talk about real quick, nonverbal communication. A lot of what we do is on the phone, but is there any thoughts on that? Like the nonverbal, the body language? I can tell you this. The biggest thing I get in trouble for is probably my nonverbals. When it's people, my verbals too. I'm not the best communicator in the world, but I evidently, if you ask my wife, she'd probably tell you, if ask people around me know me, that you can see what I'm thinking by looking at my nonverbals.
I live in your camp, Brian. I understand at the highest level. So that's something it's a skill that has to be practiced, especially on the telephone. It's tonality and keeping your emotions in check, especially if someone says something that's kind of off the wall. So what I teach a lot of our clients to do is, if you said the sky's purple in Houston, I'd be like, wow, the sky's purple in Houston. Tell me more about that. Where you might be like, the sky's purple. What do you talk about? What are you, in La La Land? Right. So a lot of times we want to do this versus leaning in and coming from curiosity and repeating and affirming and being super curious about it. I also think with the nonverbals, your positioning with your body, like right now I'm facing you, right, versus your arms crossed, versus your legs crossed, versus turning away, versus eye contact. Statistics say that nonverbal communication is 70, 80% of communication. So I would say it's a practice skill, especially if you emote at a high level like yourself and myself.
So how do you get better at it? I mean, because for me, it just takes a lot of intentionality to go, all right, am I looking? Am I,
You pre-brief it. You work on it. So I would encourage, instead of practicing on other, for example, you're in the real estate profession, practice on non-real estate agents, because
right.
they're going to be real people
Right.
who are going to give you real questions where you'll be like, I can't believe you just thought that the Zillow estimate was correct. They don't take into account any amenities, just square footage and beds and bath. So I would practice, and I call it the pre-brief, in front of people who are not real estate agents to get better at it, and ask them honestly, people who you trust, what they thought of your mannerisms. It's literally practice. It's a practice skill. And I would record it on your phone.
That's good. No, that's good. I'm just thinking still like about doing that more proactively. And
I would do it proactively. The reason I say that is I just got video of myself presenting. Whew, I emote a lot. If I disagree with an audience member, I mean, we make it fun. You can see it all over my face.
Yeah.
And that could be intimidating if I'm trying to engage people and get them excited about conversion and prospecting and talking and relationships. I need to be walking the walk and talking the talk. So I encourage you to video yourself.
How do you have a balance? Because like I would say one of the things for me that has brought some success in real estate has been being assertive, proactive. I wouldn't say I'm a pushy person, but I'm also like, I'm not just, like when it comes to negotiation, when I'm negotiating with another agent or something like that, I can't just, it's, your style has helped me with that, but you also do have to still be somewhat assertive, not pushy. That's not a good word, but assertive. So how do you balance between assertiveness and empathy, which is where you kind of want to not land, but that's where you got to go through that stage too.
So for that specific example, if I say I'm going to do a transaction with another agent, I would either email, text, or call them and say, hey, Ryan, we're going to do a transaction together. You have the buyer, I have the seller. I don't know if you have a family or not. I'd love to know what's your preferred method of communication and like, what are your boundaries with, what time I can call you up during the day. So I'm going to start that relationship here before it even gets here. So by the time I get to negotiations, you already like me at a very high level. You trust me. We're on the same page. So the relationship doesn't begin at negotiations. And yes, I want you to be assertive. There's a difference between being assertive and being aggressive. Right. Because if we've already built a relationship with the other agent, which we should be doing from Jump Street, then we don't need to have an aggressive conversation. You can make it a win-win and be assertive once you've built the trust with the other agent. Do you currently reach out to other agents at the beginning of the transaction and build the relationship?
I'll say this. I always try. Some I don't want to, but for the most part, I do. I will tell you this as someone, mainly do listings. I cannot tell you how many agents don't even call or email or text when sending over an offer. Like they just send over the offer in a blanket email. Here's our offer. Here's our terms, whatever. Versus the agents that call me, ask, what's most important to your seller? What do we need to actually, what do we need to get this done? Where they actually whether they're trying to start a relationship, whatever, but that person, I'm like, man, I want to work with that person all day long. And I'm telling you this, 90% of the offers we get, I don't get a phone call, a text, nothing until I get an email that says, here's your offer.
The good news is there's a lot of opportunity for agents in Houston, Texas to grow their vocabulary and their persuasion skills, what you're saying.
That's right. Absolutely.
Well, no, they don't know what they don't know. Maybe they haven't had the training. Maybe they don't know better.
Yeah. So there's a question. If you're sitting there and someone's listening and they're like, all right, what you're saying, and I always think this because I'm like, you don't know what you don't know. Like you said, you may not know that you're bad at communication, or you may not know that you need to be refining that, whatever. Where do you start? How do you like start? What are the resources? What are the tools to start as an entrepreneur learning how to develop communication skills better?
Well, there's some books out there. So if you're a book reader, an audiobook reader, there's How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. There is Exactly What to Say with Phil Jones. There's Zig Ziglar stuff out there that I like. And I would say the biggest aha that I personally learned over the last year is the pre-brief, is practicing what you're going to say to an uninterested party, because they're going to be honest. And if you're using jargon that's outside of the person you're going to be conversating with, doesn't know, you're going to be hyper aware. They'll be like, well, what's a CMA? It's comparative market analysis. So I would say if you're looking to improve communication, so those are some really good books. And I'd encourage you to start practicing your conversations before you have them live, especially the important ones.
And then for entrepreneurs who have people that are on their team or they oversee, how do you, when you don't even know what you're doing? I mean, like I hired you because I was like, I don't know what I can't teach this, but she's really good at it. But how do you, how do you help instill that when you're not even at that spot?
So you're saying if you have a team to manage and you need to convert at a higher level and improve communication skills, you could hire a professional. You could hire someone who does it full time for a living. There's plenty of free content on YouTube as well. I'd also encourage you to record some of the training and have them go back and watch it. Yeah. So I would say hire an expert. You could do that. That's not in the budget, you could find plenty of things on YouTube with plenty of different leaders with communication skills. And there's something that I picked up in the last year, Ryan, and it's something that attracted me to the work for Exactly What to Say, is there's a lot of people who are what I call alpha. They're just aggressive, they're pushy, they're yelling at people, they're shoving their thoughts down your throat, and they're like loud. And then the other work that I found, it's calm, it's relational, it's consistent. And I realized I was so much more attracted to that type of communication because I felt safe. So are we having conversations with people that feel safe, that they feel okay opening up, they feel okay talking to us? Are we just bullying people into being business with us? So if you were to go and look up some content for free on YouTube, think about the person who's instructing. Yes, they might have success at a high level, but are they turning people off with how they're showing up? And how do you want to show up in your business?
Got it. That's good. That's really good stuff. And then, all right, if you had to narrow it down to just like, if there's one, you can pick one, two, three things, tips that you would say, walk away from this and go implement it tomorrow to improve your communication. What would be those? You can pick one, you can pick two, three, but what would you say?
I would have a conversation with yourself and say, what is the most important conversation that if you worked on it, it would dramatically improve your life for the better? That's a question you have to ask yourself before you can go improve conversations. The next one that I would do is, say you're going to send a text message to somebody. See how many times, or in any communication, text message, email, talking, see how many times you say the word I versus you.
Yeah.
People throw up the word I all over people, and you're making it about you.
Right.
Or you're making it about yourself when you should be making it about the other person. That's number two. Number three, see if you can ask enough questions so you can get to the point in the conversation where you can say, based on the fact that you said X, I'd recommend Y, because I have a feeling we're advice monsters, and I don't even think we could go a day, a week, or a month without giving advice.
Yeah. For most people, yes. Most people in sales, that's how we are. You're right. Well, yeah. And I think the thing that I've seen the most with you've been working with this almost a year now. And the thing that I've seen the most with even and our agents on the team would say the same thing. I mean, it's consistently practicing this every day, every week. It's not like you're going to go to a class and I went to the Phil Jones and got certified and all that stuff. And it was, I know the knowledge, but it's the sitting on that call every Wednesday morning and hearing, or Tuesday morning and hearing new concepts and practicing them and continuing to remind. And what I love is like even people on my team who are not in sales, like Becca, who I hear her start to say something, then she'll go, would you be open-minded to think about, and Becca's not in sales, but she's selling me on something, whatever it was. And but I love it because it's really just that practice consistency. Okay. Thanks again, Andrea. Hey, real quick, by the way, I always do a drink choice of the day. And Andrea, her drink of choice, which we have one of these in our, hey, wait, I'm going to get a screenshot of this. Hang on. Put up your Dunkin' Donuts.
Maybe I'll get sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts.
I'll tag them.
You'll tag them and I'll call the CEO.
We literally, from where our office is at, we have one. It is, thankfully, it's actually close, but one that's probably within 30 miles. And I love Dunkin' because I grew up in the East Coast and Dunkin' Donuts was everywhere. And so I haven't had a Dunkin' Donuts coffee in forever. I was like, I got it. So I'm giving you a good rating on this. This is an 8.5 cup of coffee because it's just black coffee. Do you get is that all you get, or do you get the?
I get cream. I get cream in there.
I know, but I mean, like their frappuccinos and all that other stuff.
No, that's too much sugar. No, get out of here.
And because I'm assuming you have them everywhere, right? Up there.
We have them everywhere, and now they're in Massachusetts, right by Reebok. Now I'm incentivized. Do you think it's possible that I could call the CEO and get one in your town?
Oh wow, yes. We have one. We have one here. It's just and they're different. Like when I grew up, it was like they were like they weren't standalones. This is a standalone, the one we have here.
Oh, they're standalones here. They're in shopping centers and standalones.
Got it. But yeah, it's good. All right. Last thing I'd also do is a rapid fire. So I give you rapid fire questions. And
okay, I'm ready. I'm not ready. I'm ready. Not ready.
And
ready.
So the first one, you only have two options. And I don't want you to answer this what you want to do or what you should do. It's what first thing that comes to mind, how you really feel. Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Work or play?
Work.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Salty or sweet?
Salty.
Night out or night in?
Night in.
Expensive parents or home parents? That too. Expensive presents or homemade presents?
Homemade presents.
Do you kill bugs you find inside or you take them outside? Be honest.
It depends. It depends. No, this is a good question. If I am the alpha female in the room, I kill it. If I'm the only person, I walk it outside.
Okay.
That's the answer.
Fresh food or fried food?
Fried food.
Do you learn? See, that's right. That's okay.
You said what I want versus
right.
that.
Do you learn by watching or learn by doing?
Watching.
Do you have more street smarts or book smarts?
Street smarts.
You prefer driving or flying?
Driving.
All right. Done with that one. Those were the two. Like you have two options. Now, my other questions are.
I like this game.
I know. You should. It's fun. It's like it's very everybody. It's just like you get to think about things you haven't think about. Where's that? I've got them written down here. All right. So it's holiday related. So what is your favorite Christmas carol?
It can't be by Mariah Carey. All I want for Christmas is you.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
What is your favorite holiday?
Christmas.
And what's your favorite Christmas movie?
Christmas Story. Ralphie.
Oh, it's great. I've got something for you, and I'm going to send it your way. Hang on. Give me 1 second.
Sure. Is it a pink jumpsuit with pajamas?
No, I'll send it to you later. I want it to be a surprise. Never mind. What? Gosh, I had a good one here. I wrote down all these. Who was your favorite boss you ever had?
Sean McFadden at Lincoln Financial Distributors. And you know what? Let me change that. Gary Spence. He was Gary Spence, hands down. Sean McFadden was good at Delaware Investments. Gary Spence at Lincoln Financial Distributors. I still call him to this day to thank him for being a great leader. Gary Spence, hands down.
That's great. Poor Lincoln Financial guy though. Feel bad for him now. What do you do you make New Year's resolutions? And if you do, what's one that the most one you've made that you're the most proud that you've kept and followed through? Oh boy.
I keep saying I'm going to get organized, and my husband's very organized.
Yep.
And it's a New Year's resolution. I'm just going to get more and more organized. And he was like, you keep saying you're going to get more organized. And I say, it's a process. It's a process. It's not just one day. So it's always organization.
Nice.
Always.
And have you followed through with any of them?
I'll send you a picture of my desk.
All right. Last question. And then this one is asked every person. If you had only 24 hours, money is no issue. You can spend, you have as much money as you want, but you only get for 20, you're only getting it for 24 hours. Time is no issue. So you like travel. If you want to travel somewhere, you can be there in a minute.
I already know where I'm going.
Where would you go? What would you do? I want to hear it.
You're probably not going to expect this. So I would go to Austria and take the Sound of Music tour because it's my favorite movie. And you can't get into the house where they filmed it, but I'd convince someone to get into the private home where they filmed the movie for the Sound of Music. So I'd go to Austria to see where they filmed the Sound of Music.
Wow, that's awesome. No, I would
You're
not.
Like you're such a nerd.
I would have not. I mean, at least you got a free. You got as much money as you want, so you can do whatever you want. And you would.
I mean, I can buy the house if I wanted to.
Recreate
the movie. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Andrea, very much. If people wanted to find you, where can they find you at?
They can find me on Instagram. Andrea is a force, which is my handle right there. And I don't know if it's safe to give out my phone number, but you can call me directly as well at 484-362-8114. Text is the best method to get me because I'm usually on the phone.
Do you know how many people are going to be calling you? Oh my gosh, you're going to get salespeople. AI's listening to this right now. They're going to take this number and it's got a zap going to somebody else. But hey, you put it out there.
I literally present to huge rooms and usually 3 people reach out. So
awesome. Thanks again, Andrea.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yep.